Genesis chapter 32. In Genesis chapter 32, we are going to be talking Jacob's double encounters with the angels of the Lord on two separate occasions, one of which he ended up wrestling with the angel, and also Jacob's strategy in settling the dispute with his brother. In the previous chapter, after the incident between Jacob and his uncle Laban, Laban left Jacob back to his own village. After that, Jacob continued on his journey back to his hometown in Canaan. As Jacob started on his way again, something unexpected happened to him along the way. Angels of God came to meet him, and when Jacob saw them, he exclaimed, "This is God's camp." So he named the place Mahanaim. After this encounter with the angels of the Lord at Mahanaim, things take an unexpected turn. But before we head to that, let's take some steps back to the previous chapters. In the previous chapters, we talked about how Jacob tricked Esau, his brother, and stole his birthright, which made an enemy of the two brothers. This also led to Esau's plan to slay his brother Jacob, which was why Jacob fled from his hometown in the first place so as to give his brother time to cool off. Now, after spending years in his uncle Laban's house and now about to return, Jacob, remembering how things ended with his brother Esau, then sent messengers ahead to his brother Esau, who was living in the region of Seir in the land of Edom, in an attempt to reconcile with him. He told them, "Give this message to my master Esau. Humble greetings from your servant Jacob. Until now, I have been living with Uncle Laban, and now I own cattle, donkeys, flocks of sheep and goats, and many servants, both men and women. I have sent these messengers to inform my lord of my coming, hoping that you will be friendly to me." All this he did because of the pending grudge his brother had towards him. After delivering the message, the messengers returned to Jacob, but Jacob, expecting good news, got the opposite instead. The men he sent returned and responded saying, "We met your brother Esau, and he is already on his way to meet you, with an army of 400 men. Jacob became very terrified at the news. In his thought of what to do, he divided his household, along with the flocks and herds and camels, into groups. All these he did with this thought: if Esau meets one group and attacks it, perhaps the other group can escape. Then Jacob, still very terrified because things are now out of his control, decided to go to the one who has control over the uncontrollable, and he prayed, saying, "O God of my grandfather Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, O Lord, you told me, 'Return to your own land and to your relatives,' and you promised me, 'I will treat you kindly.' I am not worthy of all the unfailing love and faithfulness you have shown to me, your servant. When I left home and crossed the Jordan River, I owned nothing except a walking stick. Now my household fills 2 large camps. O Lord, please rescue me from the hand of my brother Esau. I am afraid that he is coming to attack me, along with my wives and children. But you promised me, saying, 'I will surely treat you kindly, and I will multiply your descendants until they become as numerous as the sands along the seashore, too many to count.'" So after he made that prayer, Jacob stayed where he was for the night. Then the next morning he selected these gifts from his possessions to present to his brother Esau: 200 female goats, 20 male goats, 200 ewes, 20 rams, 30 female camels with their young, 40 cows, 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, and 10 male donkeys. He divided these animals into herds and assigned each to different servants. Then he told his servants, "Go ahead of me with the animals, but keep some distance yourselves." In these sayings he was referring to the herdsmen of each group. He gave these instructions to the men leading the first group. "When my brother Esau meets you, he will ask, 'Whose servants are you? Where are you going? Who owns these animals?' And you must reply, 'They belong to your servant Jacob, but they are a gift for his master Esau. Look, he is coming right behind us.'" And Jacob gave the same instructions to the second and third herdsmen and to all who followed behind the herds. "You must say the same thing to Esau when you meet him, and make sure you say, 'Look, your servant Jacob is right behind us.'" Jacob thought, "I will try to appease him by sending gifts ahead of me. When I see him in person, Perhaps he will be friendly to me." So the gifts were sent on ahead, while Jacob himself spent that night in the camp. During the night, Jacob got up, still troubled about the news of his brother's arrival. He took his 2 wives, his 2 servant wives, and his 11 sons, and crossed the Jabbok River with them. After taking them to the other side, he then sent over all his possessions across the river as well. This left Jacob all alone in the camp. Later that day, a strange man approached Jacob and began to wrestle with Jacob. They wrestled and wrestled and wrestled until night came. They still continued to wrestle until the dawn of a new day began to break. When the man saw that he would not win the match against Jacob, he touched Jacob's hip and wrenched it out of its socket, dislocating it. But Jacob still refused to let the man go. Then the man said, "Let me go, for the dawn is breaking." But Jacob, discerning that this was no ordinary man, said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." "What is your name?" the man asked. He replied, "Jacob." "Your name will no longer be Jacob," the man told him. "From now on you will be called Israel, because you have fought with God and with men and have won." "Please tell me your name," Jacob said. "Why do you want to know my name?" the man replied. Then he blessed Jacob there, and Jacob allowed him to leave. After the incident, Jacob named the place Peniel, which means face of God, for he said, "I have seen God face to face, yet my life has been spared." After the incident, as the sun was rising, Jacob left Peniel, and he was limping because of the injury to his hip. Although Jacob had a dislocated hip, Jacob left Peniel with a new name, Israel. Because of the dislocated hip of Jacob during his wrestle with the angel, the people of Israel don't eat the tendon near the hip socket. This powerful story in Genesis chapter 32 demonstrates Jacob's growth in faith and his journey towards reconciliation, both with God and with his brother Esau. It teaches us about the transformative power of wrestling with God in our trials and the potential for forgiveness and restoration in our relationships. Join us at Bible Revealed as we reveal stories and chapters of the Bible.